Alrighty, the second bit of information here from the making of Revenge of the Sith by J.W. Rinsler. May he rest in peace. We're going to go over Hayden Christensen today and what he thinks of Anakin being loyal or disloyal to Obi-Wan and Palpatine, and really what his direct motive is. I always love hearing Hayden's perspective of things because he is the closest that we'll ever get to really understanding Anakin, apart from George Lucas's mouth, of course. But I always find the actors themselves have a really interesting understanding of the characters because they're not only coached by George Lucas on how to act for them, but they embody them. Right? Like Mark Hamill is Luke Skywalker, Harrison Ford is Han Solo. All right, Anakin's relationship with Palpatine eclipses his relationship with Obi-Wan, Christensen remarks. But he doesn't really have a clear devotion to one or the other. Very interesting. Not devoted to the Jedi. If you ever thought he was, you're sorely mistaken. He really was kind of in between. He was teetering with the Jedi, and he always was. He was always disobeying orders and kind of being a rebel. And then with the Sith, he didn't really care. And George said this many times, is that it's really the tragedy of Darth Vader. And the fact that this story is really all about Anakin and Vader, even when he turns to the dark side, he's still the chosen one. But it really is kind of a pathetic story of Darth Vader and what he turns into. And the fact now that he has turned to the dark side, lost his wife, lost the Jedi, turned his back on them, betrayed them. He's kind of like, well, what am I supposed to do? Go get a regular job? So he's just sort of stuck with Palpatine. And that's what George said in Paul Duncan's Star Wars Archives. It was that one. It wasn't this one. Let's continue. Anakin, as he will be played, is, I don't want to say naive, but his belief system is still open. Very interesting that Hayden says this. So the whole time, Anakin is still open to other belief systems, whether it be the Sith or it could be literally anything, Mandalorians. If that would give him more power, that's all Anakin cares about. Anakin is like a power hoe, okay? He's going to go wherever the power flows. You feel me? All right, so he still isn't exactly set in his devotion to the Jedi or to Palpatine. And it's interesting he says Palpatine instead of the Sith because it's really true in that sense. And that line made me think because it's like Anakin doesn't care about the Sith. If Palpatine was a Mandalorian, he would have become a Mandalorian, right? So his devotion is to Palpatine because Palpatine can save his wife, not the Sith. He's looking to see how he can get more power, but his ideas of good and evil are not black and white. That's also something that I really want to talk about, is that Hayden understands that Anakin doesn't really care what is good or evil. He just cares about what's going to save his wife, and he just cares about respect and power. That's all he wants. That's all he's ever wanted. And so for him, he's like, okay, well, the Jedi, I don't really care where they lie on the moral compass all that much. Where do they lie on the power compass for me? What can they give me? The same with the Sith. Doesn't really care all that much. He went both sides. He did both proficiently. Poster boy of the Clone Wars, and then he was one of the most ruthless Sith, right? The things he did during Order 66 were unforgivable. The conversation that he probably had with all the Jedi when he died was an interesting one. If you want to see the spoof on that, make sure you check out my Once Upon a Theory series. He's looking how he can get more power, but his ideas of good and evil are not black and white. And action, Lucas calls out. After a few takes with Hayden kneeling among a dozen crew, Anakin's transition to the dark side is complete. And so that is what I think about that little bit of information. In the next video, we're going to talk about Anakin and Palpatine's opera scene. Now, if you ever heard Ian McDiarmid talk about this, it was a very, very long scene for him, very long day. And yeah, there's a lot to be said. So I'm excited to read this long paragraph, and then we will flip the page. And we get, we get some behind the scenes photos right there. All right, see you guys in the next video. Leave a like, and may the Force be with you always.